We are actually live as we speak.
Is Patrice right there?
She's the attorney.
Okay.
The meeting, the Clinical Lab Personnel Committee meeting will come to order. It says, please be known that any comments by the public are welcome and can be emailed to public comment at usbme.la.gov. And we will begin with this is out of order. This is first on the agenda was introductions. Do we need to go through, we have to go through audible introductions even though our names are on the screen?
Okay, we're live.
That's correct.
We're just now live?
Yes, ma'am.
We'll now call the meeting to order of the Louisiana Clinical Laboratory Personnel Committee. The first order of business is introductions.
And the minutes, okay.
That's not how it's listed.
Oh, she might have changed it. I'm sorry. Go
You
ahead.
have to do the audible introductions to just make sure that everyone's audible for the public meeting. law.
Okay.
Okay, I'll begin and then we'll just go clockwise. I'm Gabe Brunson. I am a med tech from Bernice, Louisiana, and I represent administrative personnel. I'm chair.
How do we know who's next in order?
Let me do this.
Aye.
Angela and Patsy.
I'm Patsy Jarrow, and I'm the Associate Director of Clinical Laboratory Personnel for the Board of Medical Examiners.
And I'm Angela Foley, and I'm a committee member that is sitting in the secondary education committee member spot.
Ashley Ware.
Hey, I'm Ashley Ware. I am from a med tech from Oakdale, Louisiana, and I am sitting in the lab assistant spot.
Beverly Ogden.
I'm a pathologist representing Louisiana Pathology Society.
Jessica Lassiter.
I'm a medical laboratory scientist representing the educator for medical laboratory science.
Larry Broussard.
Retired educator representing the specialist.
Michelle Werner.
Michelle Warner, a medical laboratory scientist representing laboratory management.
Richard Bridges.
I believe he's muted.
It says he's not, but is that Dr. Dr. Bridges, are you there?
Can we see him? Can you see him?
I can see him.
Wow, it's weird.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, I think that's all of the committee members.
I didn't get
I'm sorry.
called. Shannon Skinner.
Shannon.
Oh,
Okay.
I didn't get called.
Shannon,
I
yeah.
got you.
Okay,
All
Shannon
right, yeah, I see the
Skinner.
rest of you. I'm sorry.
Okay, Shannon Skinner. I represent the 2-year educator spot for the LCTCS system.
And then Miss Bennett.
Yolanda Bennett from Alexandria, Louisiana. I represent the medical lab scientists.
Right, anyone else before we move along?
Who is Ronald Kayette?
Yeah, who is that?
He's an LSBME staff member.
Oh, okay. Alexa Little is a consultant. She's in charge of CLIA for the state.
Okay.
Is she?
I'm here. I just have myself on mute so y'all don't have to listen to me or see me driving.
Okay. All right.
Okay, Miss Brunson, I think we're ready.
Oh, wait, that's all.
All right.
There are no other guests?
Are there any other, I don't see any other guests listed. we are pursuant to law, public comment is allowed. And have been instructed to ask for public comment for each topic. We will now have approval of the minutes from October 24th. Does anybody have any corrections or amendments to it? I only saw one typo. Angela, I had emailed that to you. I don't know if you saw that.
When you just did it? I was very.
No, ma'am, it was this morning.
Oh,
It's on section 10.
Okay.
And it just says competency checklist should be sent. Sent's just not spelled out.
Should be competency, be sent.
Be
Okay,
sent,
all right. Noted and correct. I'll make that correction.
If there are no corrections or additions, would anybody like to make a motion to approve the minutes as they are with that one correction?
I motion to approve the minutes with the one correction.
Who is that?
Beverly, I'll
Yolanda?
second that.
Yolanda.
And second by Dr. Ogden?
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Aye. Any opposition? At the meeting, the minutes are. Next topic is new business. And we have a guest that would like to go first, taking it out of order to discuss paramedics performing non-wave tests. So if that guest could be let into the meeting.
I'll let her in right now.
Oh, we didn't take a vote and a motion to go out of order.
You do it
I'll
right now.
move that we move this agenda item up in order so that we can allow this person to speak with us at the beginning of the meeting.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposition?
Who seconded? We can't.
Second was Michelle Werner.
Michelle. Okay, thanks.
All right, the motion's approved. And Ms. Lear, if you would introduce yourself.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Angela Lair, and I am the point of care coordinator for the Willis Knighton Health System up here in Shreveport, Louisiana. And I would like to talk to you about paramedics doing non-wave testing, moderately complex testing.
Well, what is your position, for or against? What are we talking about?
Oh, I am all about them being able to do it. So these these paramedics that they've actually hired, they're not doing anything yet, but these paramedics that they have hired have a minimum of 3 years experience out in the field. They will be working right alongside the physicians, not doing anything outside their scope of practice, only working with the physicians, doing what they say. I think they're qualified to do moderately complex testing, but I leave that to you guys, whether we can or cannot do it.
What test are you talking about? And can you give justification of why they need to do those tests?
Okay, this was actually coming from the physicians wanting them to be able to do it. It is on the iStat. It is the iStat BNP, troponin, and iStat Chem 8 cartridge.
These are not waived.
They are not waived. They're not waived.
And what?
I have a question. What about education? Besides the 3 years of experience, what type of education do these people have?
Okay, they all have to be board certified with the, let me see, what is that? The Louisiana Bureau of Emergency Medical Services. They are all paramedics. They are not EMRs or EMTs. They are paramedics. And they're, I don't know how long their school is, but I do know that their practicum and their observation hours are pretty grueling.
How many hours do they spend in the clinical laboratory during their training?
I do not know. I don't think they spend any in the clinical laboratory while they're training.
We
And
have a
they're not,
paramedic program at Delgado, and I am not aware of any type of lab testing being done by those students. I haven't asked that question, but like I said, they're right there by us, and I've never known them to do any.
No, I would not imagine that they would either.
I think, as we've done with other professions that may have this sort of situation, is that those people should get a lab assistant license. And what that does is assure the board that they have been trained usually by a generalist to do the particular test that they're going to be doing. That person will sign off a competency checklist. And once they get that license, then yes, they can do the test that you list.
Under the appropriate supervision.
Under supervision, which you said for you would be you.
That is me.
Yeah, that would be you.
They don't call me the lab Nazi for nothing. So,
So it's not a problem for them to do the test, but until they have a lab assistant license, then I don't think they should be doing it.
A lab assistant license costs what, $65?
$40.
$40 a year. And, you know, as Patsy just said, I mean, they're doing laboratory testing. Their license is not for doing laboratory testing. So you can't say just because they're EMTs or whatever their certification is.
They're paramedics, correct?
They're paramedics.
That they're qualified to do that.
Laboratory
Well,
testing.
it is in their scope of practice.
Oh, I saw that. And their scope of practice is wide open, but they don't have that. That's not part of their education.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's no problem. And in your situation, it sounds like you're qualified to teach them.
Yes.
They need, you're qualified to be their supervisor. And so anybody in your hospital that wants to do that can apply for the lab assistant license, and they'll be totally legal. And you fill out a competency checklist about what tests they've been trained to do.
Okay. How long does that process take? I mean, I'm not familiar with it, so.
Okay, the licensure process takes, usually it's very dependent on the applicant. If the applicant sends in all the parts, which they often don't, it can be done within a few weeks. But they usually leave this part out or that part out, and then that delays it, and then they complain that it's taken too long. But you know, if there's a checklist of all the items that should be sent in, if they make sure all that stuff gets in, it can happen pretty quick.
And then you're gonna have to check off that you've trained them to do that as well. So there's a
Yeah.
form for you to fill out as well, and you have to do yearly evaluation of that.
The form is on the LSBME website.
Okay.
For a lab assistant application, the checklist that you would have to fill out. And I think the steps that they have to do to apply for the license, I think it's all on the LSBME website.
Okay.
And the checklist and training will be specific to your site, your equipment, and your training. They can't take their lab assistant license and go to another hospital and just start working. They have to be specifically trained where they're going to be.
Yeah, so
And
you have to maintain that list at your facility. So if CLIA comes in to look at your testing and they want to see licenses, you would show them that.
Okay. Okay, so this is state specific, right? Because I know CLIA and CAP actually allow that in their guidelines. So this is a state requirement.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
actually, CLIA's guidelines state that you have to have a license in the state if it is mandatory. So it's not, CLIA's regulations actually say that if your state has a license, you must have a license to practice.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I will relay that information to my ED physicians, and we'll see where they want to go with that.
Dr.
Miss
Van has
Angela,
something he wants to
Mr.
say.
Gale, Miss Angela, just want to let you know that when they start the process with our board online, they will be given access to what's called an applicant's portal or a licensee's portal. And so as we get the information, our licensing analysts update that portal on a regular basis so that any time of the day or night, Saturdays, Sundays, whatever, they can check online to see what's missing and what's taking so long. But by and large, the longest thing that we take to do is to get the criminal background checks done. And they'll have to have a criminal background check to get a license, but they have to get fingerprinted. We have to send that off. And that usually with a tailwind takes 3 weeks, sometimes 4. But it can take as long as 6 weeks. The rest of the stuff is dependent upon the applicant to provide to the agency what it needs. And like I said, they can check and see what we've received and haven't received, and they can figure out what they need to do.
Okay. I would not imagine the fingerprints or the criminal background check would be difficult for them. I mean, they're licensed to be paramedics in the state of Louisiana anyway, so I'm sure they have to have all that in addition to their fingerprints and stuff, so. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you for squeezing me in. I have got to jaunt across the street and do some nursing education, so. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is contact information update. Patsy, how do you want
Yes.
that handled?
If anybody has any changes in an email address or home address or phone number, please just email it to me and I'll update my contact list.
And Patsy, if you'll update
Okay.
Jacinta with that contact list as well, will help
that'd
with
be-
the
okay.
administrative side.
Okay, I'll do that.
I have a quick question about the committee. When is our deadline for the ethics training?
Miss Wilton, it's this year, right? It has to do with it during the calendar year, correct?
Yes, it's every calendar year, annual calendar year.
Okay,
I'll be
so we've got
scheduling those
till-
meetings soon.
I think for the state, if you do it anytime in that calendar year, it's fine. Doesn't matter when.
Oh, that's correct. You can do it December 30th or 31st.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
I don't advise it, but you can.
No, but you can.
All right. Next topic on the agenda is appointments. Do we have an appointment for that CLS technician position?
Oh, okay. Not yet. Dr. Van has tried to reach Mary Pellegrin, but hasn't been unable to reach her to tell her that she's being replaced. So we're going to go ahead and replace her. I sent out Alan Phillips, IT at the board, sent out a blast to all the MLTs or the technicians licensed in the state and asked if anyone was interested. 3 people sent back their names. I'm going to get those 3 names to the nominating organizations, and I'm going to suggest to those people that they also send a resume to those organizations as well. So then the people, they can decide who they want to nominate for that position. Hopefully these people are really interested, and I think they probably are, and we'll get somebody that'll do what we need, attend the meeting.
All right.
So yes, we're working on that.
So wait, you're gonna ask them to send in their resumes and then,
I'm gonna send them to the 3 nominating agencies.
okay.
Also on this topic, it said members repeated non-attendance. Was that just telling why we're doing it, or?
Well, we do have members of the committee that have not attended a meeting and we said at one time, if you miss 3 consecutive meetings, that you should be replaced. And we do have a member, I think, in that position.
Have we, apart from them being notified about the meetings, have they been contacted saying
About that?
you've missed?
No.
Yeah.
No, but they have not attended a meeting in quite some time.
Is that something, would I need to contact them or would you contact them or would you?
Yeah, I think one of us needs to.
I don't mind. If you'll send me their information, I don't mind reaching out to them.
Okay, thank you. And I'll actually look at the minutes and see how many meetings it's been.
Okay. All right, next on the agenda is office. Is there any public comment regarding that?
Not at this time.
Next is office update.
Just that we do need to read the board minutes every month. They have a meeting almost every month that we need to know what's going on, especially if anything comes up about our committee. And then I just wanted to put anything that we need for meetings is going to be put on the cloud. We can't print out anything. So I won't be able to send you any printed materials anymore, right? Is that right? So
Yes, as long
as
we're in the Zoom mode and not in person, because the ability at the end of the in-person meeting, as you remember, was we could pick up all of the printed materials that were potentially confidential, and we didn't have to worry about them leaving the room. However, some of our advisory committee members in the past have let some of the information out. So we've devised a system that protects it from getting out and is secure, because we have to protect the licensees that might be in question under discipline.
And that's all I have. Do you have anything, Dr. Van?
We will continue to do this in Zoom as long as the Louisiana emergency declaration continues. We will not know if there's going to be a bill. Maybe we'll know by Monday or Tuesday if there's going to be a bill in the legislature to allow Zoom meetings after the emergency, but we haven't seen that. And so we anticipate that we can do this until the emergency declaration is over. And at that point, we would have to go back to in-person meetings. And at that time, we'll have to have those, we'll be having those in New Orleans in our boardroom.
Okay. Is there any public comment regarding the office update?
Will those meetings in New Orleans be at night, or those are back to our Saturday meetings?
You know, if y'all want to go back to Saturday meetings, we'll have them on Saturday for you. Believe me, I'm happy to do that for you.
No, on the in-person meetings.
But will they be in New Orleans or Baton Rouge?
We have no facilities for you to meet in Baton Rouge, so we would have them they would have to be in the New Orleans office.
Okay. So we don't have an outside group of attorneys like that to replace the attorneys that who was it?
Adams and Reeves.
Adams and Reeves.
Right now, Ms. Wilton is our executive counsel and doing much of that work. The board is in the process of considering additional help for outside attorneys, but at this time has not made a final decision. So at this time, the answer would be no.
Okay.
Okay.
Any public comment?
Not at this time.
All right, the next topic, rules revision update.
That is my issue, and I will happily tell you that we have just finished 8 rules. We're starting 5 more, one of which is for the CLP. My general counsel is working diligently on them. I anticipate that the next time the Occupational Licensing Review Committee meets will be in June. They will not meet again until June, and I anticipate we'll have the rule ready for you all at that time. But sometimes the board instructs us to put something above you, but it's on the agenda to hopefully get to the OLRC for the meeting in June. which means we'll probably have to have a May or early June meeting of this board to go over those final drafts for the board to review it.
Okay.
What is,
So-
I'm sorry, what is the OLRC? Office?
Of the many steps that the state requires for us to promulgate rules, the first thing is to notify the register and have them on the agenda for the Occupational Licensing Review Committee, or
Okay, I
OLRC.
didn't get it. I heard you say it, but I occupational
Licensing Review Committee.
Committee. Yeah, I heard you say it. I just didn't get it down. Okay,
Okay,
I understand. I get it.
Okay, all right.
I have a question about that. I was on that subcommittee when we reworked those rules and talked about that, and I didn't hear anything about this, but it seems in the community college world, there are whisperings or rumors going around that the board is trying to get rid of the 2-year MLT and making 4-year being the minimum to enter practice in the lab. So I just wanted to ask, like I said, I haven't heard anything about it. So if it's not true, I would like it to be on public record that it's not true. And if it is true, as an educator in a 2-year program, I would like to be aware of that.
I've never heard of that.
We have never discussed anything like that. There's a place for the technician level in both urban and rural area hospitals. And as far as I know, we have never tried to get rid of the 2-year education track for the technician.
And it is
I don't ever see that happening.
It's definitely not in the rules revision that Dr.
No,
Van is referring up the line.
Absolutely not. Shannon, you were on the committee. That's not on.
Well,
those
I know
lists.
I didn't hear anything, but like I said, that it seems to be something that other people are hearing. So I
What
just
other
wanted to
people?
clear
I'm
that
curious.
up.
Oh, okay. All right. No, absolutely not. And, since the whole committee met, we've had some subcommittees that have met. Actually, Patsy and I met with Dr. Collada. I don't know, I guess back in November. And because when the committee met, remember, I guess it's been almost.
It was before COVID. That's all I remember.
It was before COVID. We
Yes.
met probably the December before COVID. We met, and we were almost done after that meeting, but there was a few things that we didn't get to. But Patsy and I met with Dr. Collada, and we worked on the last few things that the committee had not yet done. So now, it's with Dr. Collada, but it has to be put in the proper form with the attorney doing that, and that's what Dr. Collada said. But
there's nothing about deleting
No,
or
absolutely
removing
not.
2-year prepared people for the technician position. That has never been discussed.
And really before it goes before the, what is that OLRC, we would really like for the task force to be able to see a final draft of what we did.
Right.
And everybody can weigh in on it again, before we submit an official document for the OLRC.
Yeah, like I said, I just wanted to bring it up because I've heard and I've been asked about it. So I just wanted to make sure.
Good, thank you.
All right, is there any public comment to this topic?
None at this time.
All right, the next topic on the agenda is continuing education. I had asked that this be put on because of the email that licensees received that confused me. And I don't have it with me where I can read it out loud to you. But it essentially said that because no CEUs were required in 2020, that we would have to have double for this year. Is that the rule?
No.
No, I think you misunderstood. No, you will not have to have double. You will have to have, we phased it in So that what doubles is the number of months times 2 is the number of required CEs you would have to have until you reach your maximum. But since you all have not, since we have not changed, and that's one of the things that the rules will change, is we were going to go to splitting at 6 months in June, and then again in December, we would split the licensing, so it would make it a little bit easier for our staff. But the key here is that you, since whatever number you require, you'll still require the same amount. So for some of us who have birthday months, it's by the birthday time and it's the birthday month. But since you all still all renew at the end of the year right now, it will be the same number. You don't double it for you all.
Okay, because the example that the email gives said, if you renew in February, then you will have to have 4 credits in February.
That's correct for people who have February renewals.
So that's,
You all renew in December, so you'll have the full number that you normally need. That's all.
okay. All right, well, all right.
So if you renew in February, like some of
Oh.
our docs do, you have 2 times 2 is 4. I renew in March because I'm a March birthday. 2 times 3 is 6. But since you all have your number established and it's going to be for the full year because you all renew in December, you'll be all at what you are normal.
12.
The 12.
Okay. All righty.
I read the email the same way you did, Gay. I thought I needed 24.
Or
Well, and then it said earning them as of 2021. And I thought, what? We're wasting all the ones I did last year. If I'm gonna
You
have
had
to do
no-
double, I want to count them.
You didn't have, the board waived all requirements for CMEs for 2020, very early during the crisis in March. So nobody had to do any for 2020. We appreciate it, and I know the citizens do too if you took them. I think that makes you a better practitioner, but we're not going to audit or review. And the goal here is that when the system is fully enforced for you all, which will be December of 2022, if anybody has not submitted their CEs, they will not have a renewal ability. You won't be able to pay and renew. So that's what's going to happen for 2022. This year, we're going to give everybody the slack to learn to use the system. You all can start. If you need me to put together a training program, we're happy to do a Zoom program for you all to learn how to use the system. Matter of fact, if you want to do this as part of the meeting later on tonight, I can do a quickie for you all to show you how to use CE Broker. But basically, it's very easy. You have to first establish an account. We tell everybody to establish the basic no-cost account. Avoid things like free trial because you don't want the free trial. You want the basic account. And then it's just 5 steps to put together a little bit of data and send it to the CE Broker. And then they're communicating with us on who's renewed, who's got their CEs and who's not. And this is all because the Louisiana Legislative Auditor in their evaluation in 2018 basically said we were not doing a good enough job in making sure that people got their continuing education. So now the goal by 2022 is that nobody will be able to renew if they have not gotten their CEs up to date and current.
I've been on the CE Broker recently, and it looks like they've even streamlined their system since a year ago. I did not see any accrediting agencies missing from the list. So if everybody would please, if you don't have your CE Broker account, please go ahead and get it and check that list. It looks real good. It works real smoothly as far as updating your, putting your documents on there. I have talked to several techs though that don't work for me, work at different places, and they're apparently not reading their emails.
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't know anything about this. I'm like, well, you're gonna not have a license.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend you don't let it run out. I'm gonna renew mine when I'm in the nursing home.
Ms. Gale, it might
Is
be
there
helpful.
any-
It might be helpful if everybody would pass on to your confreres at multiple areas that if they're not getting their emails, the first thing they should do is check their license portal and make sure we have the correct email address. Because we find that people don't get the update their information in our system. And so we can only send it to the last email that you gave us. And if it's no longer in use, you won't get an email. But you all have to tell us your current addresses and phone numbers and email addresses so that we can communicate with you. So that might be one of the reasons people are not getting their emails.
I think they're not reading them.
Well, I'm sorry about that. I can't do anything
Yeah.
about that.
Right. All right. Is there any other discussion on CEs or CE broker? The other topic on here was the audits. We received 50 audits that a group of volunteers reviewed, and Patsy, I think you handled the other ones.
Yeah, I've done. There's still a few more. There was a failure of communication during all of this. So I didn't receive, there were like 58 I didn't get that they thought I got. So anyway, we worked it out. I've done about half of those already, and I probably still have another 24, 25. But I'll do those in the next week. And so we should be up to date on all the audits at that point.
Okay.
Now, there are some non-compliant people, and there's a list. I think they sent you of people that have not complied.
Well, there were 50 of the 50 that we did. There were 4 that did not clearly meet their criteria.
Yeah. Well, there are more than that are on that list, and I think they're giving a chance to make up for that, and I think they have to do double the number to get it back in good standing if they didn't. And if they don't do that, I guess they lose their license, right, Dr. Band, if they don't do it?
Well, procedurally, that would be the normal process, but part of the emergency declarations and governor's orders, the governor asked us to not do any procedural suspensions of practicability during the crisis. So we have not done that, but we are going to start tickling them with some oral letters, not just emails. People may have to go and sign for something at the front desk because we're going to be sending them restricted delivery return receipt letters, both at their house and their work, in an effort to make sure we don't miss anybody. And then hopefully they'll know to get it done and get together and work with us, because we're going to give another 90 days after the governor's order is over to tell that they have to get it done. And if they don't do it at that point, they probably will be suspended and or have a fine or have an opportunity to make up and pay a fine.
So we don't know yet when the governor will lift the order, right? I mean, that's to be determined, right?
That is at the will of the governor. It's not,
Right.
It's nothing to do with anything we know about. And we have been, the one thing we have communicated to the governor is with regard to healthcare providers, everybody that's on a temporary tag, a temporary permit that we got in through this emergency licensing during this year. And we have almost over 2,300 temporary permits, 1,200 of which are physicians for telemedicine, an additional 400 are for doctors. The rest of them are for respiratory therapists, PAs, lab techs, and things like that. They will expire 90 days after the end of the order, simply to allow the orderly transition of care and work to protect the patients. And the governor is on board with that. And he even said if we need to put something in the ending order, he would do that. So we're working with him on that. But that's why we're going to give the 90 days to get the updates for the CEs. But we're going to be sending them a little bit more than emails now. We're going to send them some written letters. So people, if they get it, somebody says, I got a return receipt, I had to go to the front desk to sign for it. Yes, that's right, because you ignored our emails.
Yeah.
So you haven't
Right,
started sending those out yet. You're still doing emails right now, right?
Well, we're in the process of composing the letter right now and be sending those out. And we're going to be tickling them a little bit harder than with just the emails and the other letters we sent. We sent some written letters, but now we're going to send a combination of return receipt letters and in writing and make sure they get it done.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Any public comment?
This is Alexa. I have a question
All right.
on that. So you said there's going to be like a 90-day period for people who have a temporary license right now. What about people who have no license and are testing under the emergency declaration?
Those were granted temporary permits. Remember, we don't grant licenses temporary, we grant temporary permits. And that has to do with as the lawyers tell me, the property rights that accrue with a request for a license, and a granting of a license is property rights. And so we don't do those. And so the issue is those people got a permit to do that testing, particularly that DNA work that people are doing, but those will also disappear 90 days after the governor's order, because there would be no more emergencies to justify them having the permit.
So there are a lot of people that are testing that don't have a temporary permit at all. They're performing high complexity testing under the understanding that they don't have to have there is no requirement for licensure for COVID testing as long as there's a licensed physician or PhD as the director. They don't have temporary or anything.
Well, they should be granted a temporary permit to do that by us without any requirement. We just need to know the names of the people who are doing the testing. So if you run across that, tell them to contact me and we'll get them a temporary. All they have to do is ask for it, tell us who they're working for and what they're doing, and we give it to them. It's not any merit-based, test-based, certificate-based, training-based kind of a thing. It's just that we need to have a record of who's doing it. And we have granted many of those temporary permits, but if you know some people that aren't working, maybe you should just let them know to contact me and we'll make sure they get their temporary permit up on the website.
Okay, I will do that because there's definitely a lot of people who are not, and they've been asking how are they supposed to know when they need to get a license? Is there going to be a transition period? And I did not know the answer to that, but that will allow us when we're going and surveying or have labs asking us about people performing COVID testing under the declaration that they need to get a temporary so that they're on the list for that 90-day period. Or at least know when that's up.
All of those people are on the web. All of the temporary permit holders are on the website. And Dr. Beverly, if you know of anybody, just pass the word, tell them to get hold of me and we'll make sure it happens for them.
Okay.
All right. Any public comment on this topic?
Not at this time.
All right, next on the agenda is Code of Ethics. We voted and approved our Code of Ethics last meeting, and the Code of Ethics we voted on was attached in y'all's documents that Patsy sent us.
I had a question about that Code of Ethics and whether we need to contact ASCLS and get them to agree to allow us to use that. I mean, and Angel says there's another problem. We don't remember what it is.
I totally forgot. I meant to look at it. You know, we voted to go ahead and adopt the ASCLS Code of Ethics. And then after that, and I cannot remember what the issue was, but I do remember that there's something else going on with that Code of Ethics that doesn't include something that we need. I can't exactly remember what it is. So I think we need to table it until next meeting. I was going to ask you to do that. So can we just table that issue and then revisit it at our next meeting?
Yeah, I mean, we've already voted to approve it, but we can approve another set. We can approve another one next time, I guess.
I know.
Or we can edit it. But I really think I need to check with ASCLS and make sure it's okay with them.
For
that
sure.
We use theirs. And then
I think there's some
other
edit
issue.
that we need to make that I cannot remember what it is right now, but it was something that addressed an issue that was not covered in the ASCLS ethics. And so, but I've been so busy and I meant to go back and revisit that and figure out what it was, but I can't remember. I think I have some notes somewhere. So I think we just need to wait on that until we meet again to revisit it.
Dr. Van?
Yeah, Ms. Gill, the one thing I would urge you all is I don't care if you adopt those principles as codes of ethics, but don't tie them to the ACLS because if they change, we have to change.
Yeah.
If you say these are our principles of codes of code of ethics, ACLS can change what it wants, but it doesn't change Louisiana's code of ethics for clinical laboratory personnel. I think referencing that is, you may say that these are from there, or these are taken from them. That's fine, but the way you have it set up in the preamble, it talks about the fact that this is their code of ethics.
Yeah.
It really needs to be ours and not tied to whatever they may change it to.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Okay, so everybody has a copy in y'all's packet. If y'all would review that code of ethics, make any edits or additions or recommendations and forward them to Angela. And when she finds her notes, we can redo them and take the words ASCLS out of it and modify them to meet us. Is everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Any public comment on this?
Ma'am.
Okay. All right, next was the CLPC budget. Back last year, we had all received the income statement is what we had received in the email. And I know there were some committee members that still had questions about that. And so that's why this is on the agenda again this time.
Can we put that budget up so that we could all see it? At the time last summer during the lockdown, some changes were made to that budget that I really didn't agree with. And I tried to meet with Denise Bisanel, who was I forgot her position, but anyway, she took care of that.
She was the CFO, Ms. Patsy.
Yeah, the CFO, okay. And it ended up, we never could meet to talk about it because there were some things that made our committee budget look like we were in deficit. And she had moved a lot of other items into our budget that I really didn't agree with. So that's why I asked for this budget to be listed so that we could look at it. And I think we need to talk about it. The board already voted on that budget, but for the next year, I hope that we can correct it or change it to where it makes more sense.
Wasn't there also a question about where there was a budget surplus in there? Jessica, you might help me with this one, where there was money that was allocated for continuing education.
There's an expense under other contracted services.
That's it. Other contracted services. What is other contracted services? We wanted a definition of where that went.
I think part of that was for the continuing education that LSU HSC provides for all licensees for free. But also in that, she had packaged my salary that made and the way she made my salary look like I was making a ton load of money out of quit my other job. And that wasn't the case. I mean, believe me, I don't make what it said in there. But
Ms. Patsy, I have that available if you'll want me to share that on the screen.
Yeah, could you? That would be great.
Yeah.
And Ms. Patsy, while Alan's getting that up to share on the screen, let me make some comments. Ms. Bisanel is no longer with the agency. We just brought in a new chief financial officer, and she's been on the job about 10 days right now. And let me get her up to speed on what's going on with you all, and then I will set up a meeting for you and perhaps Ms. Brunson and whoever else wants to meet with her We don't want to have anything that looks like an official meeting by having a quorum, but we can talk about all of those issues and we can work together to make this happen so that it looks like it is more reflective of what's actually going on.
Right. Okay. Well, that would be great. I would appreciate that. And maybe then, because
Y'all see that?
Yes,
Miss
we can
Patsy,
see
y'all
that.
see that now? Just let me
Yes,
know what
uh-huh.
page you want to be on.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, go to the bottom and I wanted to see, she has us in a huge deficit or projected deficit. And I just don't believe that's real.
Right here, further.
Yeah, maybe.
Can this get emailed to us so we can look at it or no?
It is, this is in your packet. This is in that packet that's on the cloud.
Yeah, you can get it from the cloud share.
This looks right.
This is divided. This is
This is-
updated since we saw.
Oh
it.
yeah, this looks different. So maybe it's better. Maybe it's not like the one I was complaining about because it was just
Projected, it's 33,000, but it was huge. It was more than that.
oh, it was, yeah, it was a huge deficit. So anyway, let's I'll meet with them. Gay, we can maybe Zoom on it and we'll see if we agree with all this. And I think that would be a good thing for us to do. And if anybody else wants to be included, we can include you.
Okay.
I hate to jump on that new employee in 10 days. I think we can give her a little bit of time. It'll be okay.
Yeah, the numbers that are on this budget, none of the numbers, because I read through it, none of the numbers on this match the income statement that we received back in the
Right.
summer.
That
That was
crazy.
really crazy.
But
So
the
that's
numbers are
good.
bigger. The numbers are, it's like expenses are bigger on what we have today than what we had over here.
Okay, well that's good because I mean I was very disturbed last summer when I saw that. I mean, and it just didn't look, it just wasn't right.
Wait, you think the expenses are even more on this budget?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Well, we need to look at it.
I think my question, and I know I hate to even bring it up, is I noticed that there's a lot of for the LSU offering the continuing education. Is that $91,000 they get paid a year for that?
That's what the budget shows.
That's what the budget shows we were doing it, but we'll check it to be sure. But yes, the bulk of the money that we expend for you all is that. And the other thing that's going to drop off is all the expenses that we had for Adams and Reese are going to drop off as we bring more of this in-house. There'll be, I think, less outside attorney costs. So we're going to actually improve some of this cost to you all. And, meeting costs and that kind of stuff will drop down precipitously as well. So I think basically the bulk of the money that we outlay goes to giving the CMEs that people get for free. So we, in essence, your licensing fees are paying for that. It's free to you all, but it's a return for your license. Okay. So that it's an easy way to get CEs and you can do them that way. And we hope that LSU will, I know that LSU's Maine Med School is already reporting or working to report directly to CE broker. So our Patsy and Angela, I would work to make sure that your portion of LSU HSC in New Orleans is doing that as well. And that'll make it much easier.
We're the ones that set that up.
Good. So
Is there any way to get that on a rotation with other medical laboratory science or medical laboratory technician programs in the state that can help offer the CE and benefit from offering the CE and it supports their programs?
procedurally, I think it would have to come as a motion from this committee and then be sent to the board. The board would then decide if it's worthwhile doing, or they want to keep the standard high or whatever they want to do The board will make the ultimate decision, but it would certainly look to see what you have to recommend as the advisory committee in that regard.
On the rules, do the rules or the law, either one specifically state the LSU Health Sciences is going to provide this?
Oh, no,
Okay.
No, it's that the
We have to
board will
follow.
provide continuing education.
Okay, because we would have to follow what the rules said. Yeah, just in that fact right there, like on this page you have up here, it says 140,000 total expenses, and on that other sheet, our total expenses were 69,000.
Well, it
So
must be
that's for
because
other-
they didn't include the same things. It had,
Yeah.
that must not have the same line items.
It
Yeah,
doesn't.
but see, that 140,000 is legal and there's a lot of other things, and the big picture is the computer software used at the Board of Medical Examiners, and so all that stuff is included in there.
Okay.
But I will tell you that we did renegotiate with Patsy's help a contract that did increase the reimbursements to LSU, certainly. But again, that's something that we had to do to keep it moving, because LSU was basically asking for more money to do the work that Patsy and Angela do. And we felt it was reasonable to do it. However, it's a year-to-year contract, and if you all want to design a system that changes that, it's going to be something you all have to do and the board has to approve.
Okay, that's not exactly what we did. The contract with me as an individual through LSU was increased, but the contract for continuing education has been the same for many years.
Right, but what I'm saying is the total amount to LSU has changed.
Right.
You may be
Okay.
seeing that increase and not understanding it's for two things. But the money that we send to them for education, if you all say we want other programs to do it, we would have to negotiate contracts with those programs to try and make it, as the same cost effective as LSU has done for us.
I think we should possibly open that up, especially if they're NACLS approved programs. And that would help. I mean, that's significant funding that some of these other programs in the state would reap from. And also it allows faculty members to get presentation time. So I would at least offer it, see if anybody else is interested.
Well, I'm not sure that it's something y'all can resolve at this meeting, but we can put it on the next meeting's agenda.
That's great. Thank you.
So are we just going to table this topic until next meeting?
Yeah, I think we should, about the budget, I think we need to meet with the new officer and so we understand everything that's on here.
And more importantly, there's an issue of expanding the potential contractors to provide CEs is a second issue but certainly the first issue is we're going to get our new CFO to work with Ms. Patsy and I to make sure, and Angela to make sure it's working on the scale. And then we'll come back and you all can then discuss whether or not you want to have additional contractors providing continuing education.
I just want to say, Jessica, just based on what you said, like other people can give presentations. Anybody can give a presentation. LSU just kind of organizes it, but anybody from anywhere could contact them because I've done it and lots of different people do it. So anybody at your school would probably welcome having someone do that.
Yeah, we pay the people we have other people that give them, and there's a payment to the speaker.
We give presentations and do other avenues for scholarship activities, but I mean we're always, y'all know, MLS programs, MLT programs are always looking for a revenue, And if we could put our name in the hat to contract that services, it would be additional revenue for us to fill more MLSs in the region, or in the nation. So if anybody's interested, I know we're strong. We would strongly be interested.
Well, we'll be happy to review all that and make sure you understand that there's more than just giving a lecture involved, and LSU does a lot of coordination and a lot of work to make sure that it's advertised and people get the CE credits recognized and sent, and the diplomas and certificates printed. So again, I think it's more than just giving a lecture, but what Angela and Patricia have told you is if somebody wants to give a lecture, they can work with LSU. But if you want to take over some of the contractual arrangements, understand that it's more than just giving a lecture, because LSU does a lot more administrative work than just give a lecture.
I understand.
So Dr. Van, maybe that could just be an agenda item for an informational agenda item for next month, and we could put together all the relevant information so that they would have a framework to make a decision at a future date about that.
I think that's a great idea, Ms. Pat. Thank you for bringing it up that way. So I can tell you
Is there
that.
any further discussion? Is there any further discussion on this topic? Any public comment?
Not at this time.
Okay. Then we'll move on to the next topic, licensure for grossing tissue specimens. Dr. Ogden, I think this is your expertise here.
Yeah, I think it was specifically for in a dermatologist's office where they're reading the dermatology pathology part of that. And so it would be very specific. The answer is very specific to that. So I would say they would be able to, under the supervision of the dermatopathologist, but they would have to meet the criteria for high complexity testing personnel.
Now, would you say that when you say the dermatopathologist, do you mean the more surgeon that's actually doing the work?
Well, even in derm, though, well, that's one person, but there's some dermatologists that are also certified to read their own pathology. And so they're dermatopathologists, they can do that, but they're not pathologists, but they are boarded to be able to do that. So otherwise, that's one of the reasons why they do the grossing in their office, because they're processing the tissue and reading the tissue. So it was under the supervision of the dermatologist who's going to be reading the slides, and they meet the criteria for testing personnel for high complexity testing, that would be someone eligible to do that.
I don't understand. And I need to get this in a minute. Explain it again.
Hey, I have a question though. Didn't someone state earlier that CLIA says if a license is available, then you have to have it to practice in Louisiana?
We do not have a licensure for pathologist assistants. And that's the person who's board certification. Other than a pathologist, the person who is board certified or who would have the license are pathology assistants, and we don't have that licensure in Louisiana.
Well, Beverly, thinking this first came up, and I talked to some dermatologists about it. Some of their people were I think to do high Alexa can help me with this. To do high complexity testing, do you need to have a bachelor's degree? I can't remember.
You have to have, you have to have 6 semesters of chemistry. There's a whole list of things you have to have, 6 hours of biology. So there is a list of education that they would have to have.
Okay.
So if they were in that office and they did not meet that criteria of education, then they would not be able to do it.
Okay, because they did. I know that one or two of them that I talked to quite some time ago had people that had been working in that job for a long time, but they didn't really have they didn't have a real educational background. So I'm thinking that those people won't end up qualified, but there may be others that will.
Like in our office, we have these people that meet this criteria. they help us in our office by dealing with our smaller specimens. And so, but under the supervision of pathologist assistant, but they do meet the criteria for high complexity.
Right, okay, yeah.
You do not need to have a bachelor's degree
Okay.
to qualify as high complexity testing personnel.
Yeah, I remember in that list of university credits they're supposed to have.
There's lots of different choices, like a doctor meets the criteria, associate's degree, but also education is there as well.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So like an associate's degree in MLT qualifies.
Yes. Okay.
Then there's the breakdown of different hours to qualify as high complexity testing personnel. So we've run into pathology assistants who are, they are performing responsibilities of a testing personnel, but there is no license in Louisiana for those individuals. We've run into that, and then people qualifying, to me, that's a little different than people qualifying strictly based on hours, and they aren't board certified and they're wanting to train to grow.
That's a different story. That's a different story. So whoever calls themselves pathologist assistant, a pathologist assistant in the definition for us is someone who's board certified.
Yes. Right. That's
So
different.
just because they're doing that job doesn't mean they're qualified to do that job. So I know that a lot of people that from a grandfather standpoint, they've been doing it a long time, but they do a lot more complex specimens than this. To me, that would be a whole different issue, and we would have a whole different problem with that.
So what are we saying, that these people, if they have those hours, that they don't need a license to do that of any kind?
We don't have a license for that.
No, I know we don't.
That's the problem. But in the setting of where in laboratories and pathology laboratories where people are doing that, they're under the supervision of someone who knows how to do it. And I'm assuming the dermatologists who are doing it are the ones that are going to read their slides. They're going to know how they want their slides prepared and their sections taken. So they have the knowledge of what's a proper sectioning for those small specimens. So because they're under that guidance in that dermatologist's office, if they meet that criteria, like in our office, like I said, we do have college graduates who we do allow to assist us in handling small specimens under our supervision.
So that's really that's not part of licensure. That they're doing that on that's outside of our purview.
Right, because there's no license for that.
Right. Okay. Got it.
I'm not sure I did. So what we're saying is, if they're doing grossing on tissues in a dermatologist's office or under the purview of a physician who's directing it, they don't need a license because we don't have a license for that.
But to do it, they have to meet the criteria for high complexity testing. I'm sure Clea would agree with that.
Yeah. Okay.
So no license needed.
Because we don't have one.
Let's let Alexa answer that question.
And the other things we've been talking about with Dr. Van involved as well is, do we get licensure for the pathologist assistant?
I'm gonna let Alexa tell us, do you think that they need to be licensed?
I think if you're falling in line with everything else the board does for licensing for laboratory testing, yes. Because it's like, I mean, you're saying one responsibility of a high complexity testing personnel doesn't require licensure, but everything else does.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
All right, well then, let me do some research with our legal team to find out if that can be done in rules only, or if we have to change the statute. And we'll certainly follow up with that at the next meeting to let you know. I'll make sure Jacinta knows to put that on the agenda. And in the meantime, for the meeting, once we determine how we would do it, I need you all to be designing and conceiving the criteria you want to have to hold that license or garner that license. And we'll work together to after the next meeting to set up either a rule change or a statutory requirement, which will not make this session. I assure you it's over today.
Well,
the last day to file a bill.
And if we're doing pathologist assistants licensure, these people will never qualify.
Well, you can always do a grandfather with a sunset clause if you want to do that. And I'm certainly, I think it's reasonable to do it that way so we don't put anybody out of business. But I do think if you want to move to ultimate licensing, you know, you can grandfather, sunset, and then have everybody who comes in after these older people retire or die off, then everybody will be licensed.
Okay.
But we don't have, but under what kind of a license would you create for that?
We would create a pathology assistance license.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which would require board certification.
You would tell us
right
what you want the license to require. We would determine how we go about it and design either a statutory change or a rule change to accommodate it.
So these grossing people, would they fall under a pathologist assistant, like sub kind of license, kind of like a lab assistant for us?
It's whatever you want it to say, we'll make it say. You guys need to think about this, decide what you want to do so that when we talk about it next time, we'll have your input. You can make some agreements on what you want to do, and we'll put it together in the form of either a statutory change or a rule change. But y'all got to tell us what you want, even if you want to have a license for them.
Right. So for me, the license would be a board certification requirement because that's what the standard is. That is a defined entity, just like a physician's assistant. We can't make up what a physician's assistant sub-level can do. So I think, so we just have to decide. We're willing to do it. That's just a bigger deal, like you said, going with the legislature, but we might as well start doing it.
Yeah.
I personally don't think this can be done through the rules.
No, it can't.
This would have to be an amendment to the law.
Well, again, I haven't read either one of them to that extent to determine that. I think I'm going to trust my legal team to do that for us. And we'll tell you what we have to do next time.
Okay.
But for next time, you got to tell us what you want us to do in terms of how you want to qualify them. And I have some public comment to scale that I do want to read into the record when you finish this topic.
Ms. Duke has her hand raised.
Yeah.
Yes, it was just in reference to the agenda item that you guys want. If you can just get the minutes to me as soon as they're done, so I can get the appropriate item in the agenda for you.
Okay. All right, public comment?
Yes, ma'am. 1 second. I'll pull them up and I'm going to read them to you. All right, let's see. This is from Miss Wendy Palermo. Miss Palermo first at 6:06 commented that the LCTCS is also interested, and Miss Wendy is from the Louisiana Community and Technical College System. And then at 6:09, she sent another one. The screen share is still up, and I believe you missed my public comment that the LCTCS is interested in offering CE/learning more. And that's from Miss Wendy Palermo. So those are the two comments from Miss Palermo.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, she's interested in what? Say that again, Dr. Collada?
Okay.
She's
This is her exact
interested-
comments. I think you need to hear her exact comments.
Okay.
LCTCS
Got that.
is also interested. And then that's all she said. And then in the next one, she said the screen share is still up, and I believe you missed my public comment that LCTCS is interested in offering CE/learning more. And she's the executive director of academics and workforce, Louisiana Community and Technical College System in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
So that's back in reference to that other topic.
Yes, correct.
You mean providing continuing ed?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, is there any further comment on this tissue grossing topic? If not, we'll move on. All right, the next topic is phlebotomists and administering the COVID vaccine.
Oh, okay. Alexa had Actually, Alexa should probably talk about this, but people were asking if phlebotomists were licensed to administer vaccines. And I said, according to their education and their actual license, that's not covered in their training. But Alexa found that, Alexa, why don't you continue that and say what, I don't know where you got that information about it is okay under their license to administer vaccines.
There was a declaration from the state health officer.
Okay.
Saying that licensed phlebotomists in the state could administer COVID vaccines. Under
Is this just for COVID, or is this like any old time?
Just
No,
COVID.
This was just for COVID.
Right, because the nursing, I know in our hospital, the nursing, because of nursing jurisdiction, no one else is allowed to give injections.
That's what I thought. That's why I said no.
We used to give PPDs and other things in the lab, and that's no longer allowed because of the nursing jurisdiction.
Yeah.
But this was the declaration that the governor put out through the Office of Public Health, Dr. Joe Cantor. And it says that they can do it with proper training supervision. And that's what we can't tell them no, quite frankly.
No, and it's just for this. It's fine as long as it's just for this. Yeah.
It's really for the COVID emergency, so they can get more people giving more shots, so we can get more people vaccinated. Okay. That's what it's about.
Okay.
That's fine.
So my point was only that most of the phlebotomists in Louisiana are not licensed to begin with. A lot of them are not licensed. I was mostly just sharing that had come out.
So did the declaration say that only licensed phlebotomists could do it in this emergency use authorization period or whatever?
I believe so. When I read it, because I think I sent it to Patsy and put that part that licensed phlebotomists in the state of Louisiana, which I took to mean phlebotomists that are already licensed as phlebotomists can administer COVID vaccine with training and on-site. They did have on-site supervision of a physician or nurse practitioner, I believe. But just that most of our phlebotomists are not all licensed to begin with. So I wasn't sure where that fell. I was mostly just sharing that so you guys could be prepared that that's coming. Or I assume that people are going to start utilizing that.
Yeah. Well, like you say, most phlebotomists in the state, if they work in a hospital or doctor's office, they're not required to hold a license. So the numbers are not that high on people that are actually licensed.
Is there any public comment on this topic?
I'll check one moment, please. No, I have no public comment at this time.
All right, then we'll move on to the next agenda item. It's modal course and jurisprudence. Patsy?
Susie was, I think, going to be here, but she left town. There was a problem. She's working on that, but Patsy, you may give a better update than I can.
Well, in some of the other licensing categories, they have a Moodle course that they have to take in jurisprudence, and she just wanted to expose us to that. And so, because I think eventually they're going to want us to have one as well. That's as much as I know about it.
And basically, I kind of get the term jurisprudence kind of is not completely accurate. It's the board's rules course for your particular license.
Oh, okay.
So it's not teaching you jurisprudence. It's teaching you the rules that apply to the rules of the road for the licensing.
Okay.
But if y'all want us to do that, it's on our list to develop them for lots of other people. And while we develop one, we might as well develop one for you all if you want it. But if you don't want it, that's fine with us. But what it can be is a form of CME. We can recognize it and people can take it. I think that the people in investigations would like it very much, because I think they would feel like it's helpful, because we have a lot of people who come to the meetings with the investigations department and you say, I didn't know that was in the rules. Well, you know, it's kind of like saying, I got a speeding ticket. I didn't know it was 35 miles an hour. Well, you're responsible for knowing the law. But nonetheless, this is a way we can help them be responsible and know the rules of the road for what they're doing in their own particular specialty. So that's what this was about, really.
Okay.
I think that would be a good thing.
Well,
All right.
we'll tell Susie to get to work with Patsy to do it.
All right. I think we had already had some folks submit some questions for it anyway.
Right. And Patsy, and we'll get those to Miss Susie.
Dr. Van, there's some more public comments.
Okay. Let's read those public comments. I just didn't really see that those came in.
Yeah, they just came in.
Okay, we have one comment from a Tammy Shaliu. If I mispronounce it, please forgive me. The following is typed into chat functions of YouTube. Could these questions be addressed? The only way the public can engage is to use the chat function. No, you submit your comments to public comment. Submit to public comment at lsbme.la.gov. Public comment at lsbme.la.gov. And that's how we get the public comments. We do not use the chat function on YouTube. The YouTube is a courtesy for people to see what's going on. Comments at this time are in writing submitted to the board through public comment at lsbme.la.gov. Okay, and then the next comment is Tammy Shuley. To clarify, there is nothing in the rules that would block the pathway for the 2-year education of individuals to CLS/MT, question mark. And then Tammy Shule asked a question regarding the rules report that was not answered during the public comment. How do we get questions answered as part of the public comment? Carrie Cock, how can the public make a comment? So I think you submit those comments to the public comment at lsbme.la.gov, public comment at lsbme.la.gov, and we will read them into the record for everybody. So I think that's the only public comment we got. There's several of them into one from Miss Tammy Shalou.
And Dr. Van, just as a further explanation, it is a real time. We are monitoring the public comment aspect, and it is a real time communication from them to the committee as soon as it's received at the appropriate time in the meeting.
Yeah, the only delay is around how long it takes for the email to actually hit our system.
And this was received at 6:24, and it is now 6:27. So within 3 minutes, it was being read to the members of the committee. I know Miss Pat's happy about that.
Gold star.
Okay, Ms. Gale, I'm sorry to have interrupted your meeting.
If there are no further comments, the next item on the agenda is executive session. Do I entertain a motion for us to go into executive session?
If you would wait just 10 to 15 seconds to make sure there's no comment before you go into executive session, but you can make the motion, but we'll just wait to make sure there's no more comment.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion pending further comments for us to go into executive session?
I'll make a motion to enter in executive session. Ms. Jessica Lasker.
I second Beverly Ogden.
All those in favor of going into executive session after we wait to see if there's comments, say aye.
Aye.
All negative, all no's. All right, the motion passes.
Okay, Ms. Gay, this is at the point that we're going to go into a breakout room to where the public session will still be going live, but nobody will see what you're doing in executive session. So I'm going to click a button in it, and it will add all of you all into that public session.
Alexa?
Hey, I
Hey,
think they pulled over into executive
yes.
session and
Has, did they forget about us?
no, I think that like because we aren't, well, I don't have like a role on the advisory committee.
Yeah.
Like I'm a liaison or something. Like they're going into executive and we don't participate that and then it comes back to everyone, I think.
Okay. Because I thought I'm sitting here reading the investigative cases, so I thought
Yeah, you probably, are you like a voting position?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you should be in there. Hang on, let me.
I'm texting Van now.
I was about to say, text one of them. Text Patsy or Angela or Dr. Van.
See if one of them answers. Like I just looked up and all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, I'm thinking, well, it'll roll over. Like I spent time reading all these cases. So,
Yeah, I usually end up leaving during executive session, usually like when we do the full meetings anyways.
hoping one of them will answer. Still nothing.
Do you have Patsy's?
Yeah, I'm texting her now.
Okay. They were saying at the beginning they were going to go into executive in the breakout room and then come back,
Yeah.
but I'm not really sure.
This may make an early evening for me.
Could be worse. Of all the things to miss, the executive part is the one to miss.
I was telling them they were talking about the pathologist program assistant license. There's already a pathology assistant program here in the state. Like that's a master's degree program.
Right. So but they don't have a license for those individuals. Like there is no license for pathology assistants. And I don't know if it's because the volume isn't there yet.
Yeah.
But that's like the only, or we see that's the only field that's the only individuals that are actually certified and trained for that are performing testing. And besides pathology assistants, if they don't have a license, they shouldn't be doing high complexity testing.
I absolutely agree. I just feel like if we already have a program, how do we say other people can be grandfathered in to pathology associate when you've got a master's degree, very intense 2-year program after you have a bachelor's degree?
I don't know if they're going to be able to grandfather people into a pathology assistant license.
Yeah.
Maybe grandfather them from, well, no, that is what they're talking about. You would be grandfathered into, and to me, the people that they're like, even the derm paths that they're not going to qualify for a
No.
pathology assistant license. We see it more like gastroenterology
Yeah.
centers and stuff. They have maybe histotechs performing the grossing, not just doing the prep and staining. Those people are not going to qualify. So I don't know. I think it's just carving a lane for pathology assistants. I don't know who they're talking about grandfathering in though.
Yeah, that was my question. So you're talking about this course is 83 credit hours of graduate level training over 2 years. You know?
I mean, I'm surprised that pathologists and pathology assistants haven't like pushed to have a license, because it carves that lane out for them and dedicates that other people can't do the task that they can. So I'm surprised they haven't done it yet. None of them have responded to you yet?
Nope. I'm wondering if like Dr. Galata even checks his phone.